What's heaven?
It's a peaceful place in the sky.
Are you going to heaven?
No.
Why not?
You gotta be a good person to go to heaven.
Gareth, and thank you for the interview. And let's talk about the creator, of course. With everything that is happening right now, this movie that talks so much about artificial intelligence is extremely current. But how was the situation when you started planning it? But because I mean, the original Terminator movies made us like fear robots, and then they made us love robots, at least one of them. But that's a different story. There were like different times. So how was for you when you started planning it? And
there's so many great science fiction films that involve artificial intelligence or robots. And so the thing that I really wanted to do that I felt I hadn't really seen in a film as much was to humanize the AI and to make them completely real. Like if you ask an AI in our movie, what's the difference between it and a human? It sees no difference at all. Like it's completely as alive as we are, completely the same. And so when actors came on set, one of the first questions if they were playing a robot or AI is, how should I move? How should I talk? Is it? And I say, no, forget you're a robot, forget your AI. Please see this, it's not a science fiction film. See it as like a contemporary film about a war or something. And I stopped telling people if they were AI or not, because I didn't want them to behave any differently. And I just wanted all the robots and AI in our movie to feel completely natural, like not try and do anything, like be very human in a way.
I don't want to spoil anything, but there's some interesting twists in here. And people are probably going to react in complete different ways. So a lot of people nowadays love AI and actually using it to like a lot of like little videos and funny stuff. But a lot of people are concerned or hate it. So you're obviously aware that the movie could be like polarizing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great thing. Like, I love polarizing subject matter. That's what usually the most interesting subjects is when people disagree about something. And I do think that like it's an amazing tool, just like electricity, computers, the internet. It's gonna have a big change in society for a while. But normally, just like those other inventions, we get to the other side of it and we look back and we're happy that it happened. And when the dust settles, like we wouldn't go back to how it was before. And I think AI as a tool is going to be one of those.
10 years ago today, the artificial intelligence created to protect us detonated a nuclear warhead in Los Angeles. As long as AI is a threat, we will never stop hunting them. This is a fight for our very existence.
And why did you decide to like use to turn Asia into the, how do you say that, the bastion, the pillar of AI? Because I know that you've been in Asia and you love the way it looks like. I mean, many of those countries and everything. But that's interesting. I don't know if it was like anything to do with the pandemic, because during the pandemic, a lot of people in America were like blaming Asian people or whatever. So I don't know if it's a combination of different things or what.
There was lots and lots of reasons. One thing that happened is I was writing, before the pandemic, I was writing another script about a robot actually. And a friend of mine was making a film, had made a film in Vietnam. And he invited me to Vietnam to go hang out. And so I went. And my main experience of Vietnam is through the movies, and through Apocalypse Now and Platoon and things like this.
Yeah.
And so I spent the whole time in that country kind of seeing all these amazing visuals of Southeast Asia, but picturing all robots because of the way my brain had been wired from writing this film. And I kept seeing this combination of like a Vietnam film, like a war movie, but with robots and AI. And I got really excited about it and thought, I've never really seen anything like this, and someone is going to make this film one day, and I'm going to be really jealous of them. And so I felt like there was a race on, like other people had the same idea around the world, and I had to beat them to it, you know.
There's a scene in the movie where you show an ad, like an electronic ad. I think it's like in the streets in Asia, somewhere in Asia, and then there's like a girl or something asking people for permission to use their likeness. But actually, this is happening right now in USA, in Hollywood. So that's kind of funny. I mean, when you created that scene, I mean, it was like I don't know, it was like was a commentary about what was going on here? No, or it was just like, it was kind of a prediction, but the prediction just turned to happen here instead of happening there.
No, it was it wasn't a prediction at all. It was supposed to be like donating blood, you know.
Oh, it was, yeah, okay.
Like
okay.
as in it was supposed to be like this thing that they do in the future where they earn money by getting scanned and then letting that scan be applied to AI. And so that was just a thing that happened in the world of our movie, and I never expected it to be an issue in the real world, you know. And then suddenly, as we're editing the film, you know, the strikes start happening. We shot a whole sequence where there was people with banners and billboards sort of protesting to do with AI, and it felt very science fiction, like a bit stupid, like no one's going to ever really do this. And then suddenly, as we were editing, I'm driving back to work and things like this, and we're past, you know, the writers and actors, and they've got banners, you know, sort of protesting AI, and it's very surreal the way very quickly things have changed, and some of the ideas that felt like science fiction when we were writing it have suddenly become real world problems today. It's weird.
Whatever's in there, they're sure worried about someone getting in.
Yeah, we're getting out.
We're the same. We can't go to heaven because you're not good. And I'm not a person.
So let's talk about the visual. I mean, this movie is huge in visual terms. It looks not like $1 million, but like a $300 million. That's quite wonderful because you use a bunch of like real locations. I think it was like close to 80, mainly like in Asian countries, and then you apply the special effects in post-production. Somebody say already that could actually change the future of Hollywood, if there's a future, of course. But that's an interesting idea, right? To have this like big movie made in different terms than usual.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always been the promise of digital technology is that it will change filmmaking, you know, and all these amazing new tools come along, but we keep making films exactly the same way. There was a poster, I went to have a tour around this new studio that used virtual reality, and there was a poster up of how a film is made, and it was very normal, you know, and it describes the process of making a film, and I thought, why do they have this poster up? And then the guy said, that poster's over 100 years old. And I realized that we haven't changed the way we make films in over a century, and it seems absurd. Like, there's so many different ways you can make a movie, and it feels like I think everybody who's a filmmaker comes out the other side of making a film and would describe it as really inefficient. And so, as a filmmaker, to me, just as important as getting the script right and the story idea, it's getting the process right and trying to create a different way of making films. And
in the, as I say, then in post-production, you use like special effects and like CGI, of course. People sometimes are using CGI to just like make stories that are about or anti artificial intelligence, but CGI is artificial intelligence too, right? Or these virtual things or not? People still don't get it. Like, it's not too clear for some people.
Well, CGI is short for computer-generated image, and it implies that computers created the images. And it's kind of the wrong term because really it's artists that make those images. They just use computers to do it. But now, the problem is now that it is true, like computers can generate images with AI. There's like amazing software out there that's making a lot of people that I know that are artists quite nervous. You know, that's doing things pretty incredible, like just by typing in a request.
And in your case, it was artists behind it, of course.
Yeah, so for us, we did use AI a little bit. We just filmed people in normal clothing playing robots. And then the problem was Industrial Light and Magic had to figure out how to make them into AI afterwards. And so they actually used AI to track, for the computer to track the arm movement and the head movement. And so, yeah, and that'll become easier and easier. Those sort of things, it feels like AI is going to start definitely replacing very boring tasks and hopefully allow artists just to concentrate on more creative things.
Did you locate the weapon?
Yeah, it's a kid. Seatbelt.
What do you want with the child?
We are this close to winning the war. Execute her, or we go extinct.
I have a few seconds left, but I just want to end like asking you about like you mentioned in the production notes, right? And you've been talking about like many different influences for this movie, Apocalypse Now, Blade Runner, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. A lot of directors are just like, when you ask them to say, no, this I don't have influences. It's just me. I don't know. You're not afraid of doing that or mentioning it. I mean, it's obvious in the movie that those references are there, right? But you have a whole new story and everything. But you're not afraid of mentioning your influences.
No, because I think it's really obvious, firstly, when you see the movie. But I'm sort of like in awe of those guys. Like I grew up watching Spielberg and James Cameron films over and over and over. And so now when I speak as a filmmaker, I speak in Spielberg and James Cameron, if I'm lucky, you know what I mean? And so I kind of feel like it's like AI, right? You input things and then hopefully you mix them up enough that you can't recognize everything and then you output them. And I think originality is just the ability to forget your inspiration. Like, I don't think anyone's original, truly. I think everybody's inspired by something, and I'm quite aware of some of mine, and so I'm trying to admit it, because my goal would be one day, you know, I could die very happy if I ever made a film that was nearly as good as those guys, and so that's always what keeps me going.
You're doing it, man. You're doing it.
Nah.
Thank you very much, Gareth.
Okay, thank you.
They're coming to get me.